have a Mitsubishi Outlander ES, the base model. It's a 7-seater SUV for around $30,000. Yes, you heard correctly. How did they make a 7-seater for around 30 grand? Does it feel like a budget car? And how does it work for a real family? Or as my daughter says, a real life family. Like us. I've got a real life family. Let's see how the Outlander ES did over my week of test driving. So we're going straight to the back row because that's why you're looking at this particular model, these two extra seats. The Outlander ES is like the Nissan X-Trail, like the Honda CR-V. You can buy it as a 5-seater or a 7-seater, but the length of the car doesn't change regardless. So there is not a lot of space back here, to be honest. As a kid, you'll be fine, but as an adult, I would probably not want to sit back here. There are 2 cup holders back here, but big miss, there are no air vents. In the second row, there is lots of space. My 4-year-old and 6-year-old were perfectly comfortable in here, though they do love jumping into the back row if we've got one. There are 2 cup holders in here, but again, no air vents. One good thing is this slide and recline feature. Helps you get into the back seat, but also gives you more room for the back. And if you've got a rear-facing baby seat, it'll give you more room in the front. I would opt for this 7-seater version because you just don't know when you're going to need those 2 extra seats. So it's really a 5-seater car, but you might need 2 extra seats to transport other kids around, when the grandparents are visiting, overseas visitors. They're just so handy, and for this price, it's a no-brainer. Of course, having 7 seats does impact boot space, but if you're not using them all the time, this is a regular size boot. It will fit prams, groceries, whatever you need. When the back row is in use, that size shrinks, but it's not really any different to other 7-seaters. They almost all have small boots when 7 seats are in use. The front seats are good. Fabric, yes, but they're not a cheap, nasty fabric. They feel nice and they're comfortable to sit on. The steering wheel is leather, but it doesn't feel like leather, so they have budgeted here. But remember the price and it all makes sense. The rest of the interiors are fine, but also at the lower end of the market. And again, that's to be expected. It's well designed, it looks good, and it even has a nice touch of luxe, with the high gloss black finish that some of its competitors are lacking. Storage in the front is 2 cup holders and a center storage bin, but that's about it. And I feel like they could have done a bit more with this section here. I'm not quite sure what these are. Looks like that is actually storage space in a higher up the food chain model. Space in the front is great. Both me and my 185cm husband had enough legroom, even with the kids in the back. Driving in the Outlander is no out-of-body amazing experience, but it's fine. There's a 2.4 litre engine, which is plenty of power for a car this size, and it's no Michael Bublé, but it's smooth enough to make me happy. The handling is good, the steering is light, and it's not heavy like you can often see in some other 5 to 7-seaters. I'm high off the road, which makes me feel safe around other cars, and even though it's only a 2-wheel drive, I haven't had any issues with traction on the road either. And for a 7-seater car, it's got a fairly low fuel consumption. Mitsubishi says it uses 7.2 litres every 100 k's. It's got a small turning circle, and I was parking in front of the kids' school the other day. I had to do a U-turn to get the park across the road, and I made it. Miracle, and I got the park. From the outside, the car is not particularly a looker, but it's still fine, and I still feel good driving it on the road, which is the important thing. It's a bit rugged and tough, and sometimes you need that in a car. Safety-wise, if you're looking for newer technology like blind spot monitoring, auto emergency braking, lane departure warnings, you will have to go up to a higher spec. There's a 7-inch multimedia touchscreen which features Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Just means that when you plug your phone in, you're instantly connected to your phone's main apps. Important things like Spotify for your music, or Google Maps or Apple Maps for your navigation. No Instagram while driving. Plus, there's a digital radio. Quite honestly, I was really surprised you could get all of this and 7 seats for around 30 grand. Plus, it's perfectly fine to drive. There's enough space for 5 and there's 2 extra seats when you need them. It looks good and is a practical SUV. Sure, there are no fancy bells and whistles, but if this is your price range, this is a solid bet. I gave it a family rating of 7 out of 10 because I reckon it's really good value for money. My kids gave it a 7.5 out of 10. They love being able to transport their friends around in the back, even if they do have no air. Don't forget, subscribe to our YouTube channel or click through to our website.